Any other questions about any of that? No? Okay, can we please focus on the fun stuff now?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. I want to start with questions. So you were all asked to either bring questions or tips. Did anybody bring a question we can start with? Okay, go.
My question is, what prop modification have you tried and it's been a total flop?
Okay. What prop modification have you tried that has been a total flop? Who wants to answer?
I wouldn't say a total flop, but.
Oh, come here and take the stage.
Okay. But this didn't work well when I was used to having more sturdy blocks. These in my hand are actually pretty good, but there's some blocks that are so light and flimsy that they don't provide a lot of support. And I can't remember exactly how it happened, but it just didn't work. Like having the props on the taller setting. You know, sometimes people have, you know, taller bodies, longer arms, and they need the blocks on the tall setting. But if their blocks are like, or if they don't have the stability, you know, and say they're in like a lunge and they're going like this, you know, there was one gal and she was just unsteady and she fell over. So this was like, before I even started here. But I was like, oh my gosh, you know, are you okay? But she wasn't using the cork block. She was using the really light ones. And she wasn't steady enough for this. So I've added it into my things I say. It's like, okay, you can have your blocks on the medium setting, or if you choose to put them on the tall setting, make sure that they feel stable underneath you. And I've even told someone today in the class that he was using the blocks here in a wide leg forward fold to support his head, but he wasn't using his hands. And I was like, you know, make sure those don't look real stable. You know, I just make sure that they know that, you know, it's not as stable at this setting. So that's all.
I have a question for you, Pamela.
Uh-huh.
So in that situation, would you bring out a chair, or do you find that people are resistant to that?
It depends. So sometimes, depending on what the class is doing, yeah, sometimes I would just stop and I used to just say, hey, let's bring a chair, especially if a lot of people are struggling and they can benefit from the chair. And I'll be like, yeah, let's actually try something new and bring out a couple chairs. And see here. You know, and then especially for twists, you can do so much with the chairs. And I'll show some of those when we get to that.
But what if you just have the one person struggling? Do you just kind of let it go? Because I find that people are resistant.
It depends. So if you know the student and you know that they're gonna just keep doing what they're doing and be not safe, I have everybody come out of the pose.
Okay.
And I'm something different because I'm not going to take the risk of them hurting themselves. I'm like, okay, maybe I was going to have them hold there a couple more breaths, but now we're going to come out and we'll move to something different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just sort of what I do.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So I have a question. So does anybody have any experience of teaching the lunge position to someone who's had a hip replacement where they cannot move into the lunge slowly? They've got to know what the end pose is, because like I was teaching it, and not at Escape but somewhere else, where they've had both hips replaced and we were trying to build strength, and it was we're slowly getting into the lunge, and she did exactly what you did there, Pamela. She fell out of it.
Yeah.
So it's just to see if anybody's got experience with that.
And if it was a low lunge, I would use the 2 chairs. If it was a high lunge, I'd turn the chairs around. So it'd be, you know, having 2 chairs on either side, so their hands are on the chair and they can be supported here, you know, so that they feel stable. And if they can't do that much, you could turn them around so that they're here and just step back. They can either have their hands or their arms, probably more likely the hands. And then that can help them come forward too.
So what about if they're resistant to using the chairs because they're the only single person in the room when everybody else is using blocks? How would you manage that?
I would have the whole class get chairs.
Let me just add that we have, what, 22 chairs, I think?
Yeah.
We have
So-
22 chairs, so you could do this with up to
And-
11 people.
Yeah.
And I believe there's enough room for 11 people with
Yeah.
2 chairs
Or
here.
you can go here with 1 chair, you know, holding the back of the chair if you have enough people. And then just going and there's so much you can do with the chairs. I love the chairs. Downward dog. And then you can step a foot forward. And again, you might just stay here, or you could come into a twist like this.
Well, and I would add, like, you could just have them bring their knee down to the floor.
Yeah,
So
that's another good option.
if you don't want to have the chair come out, because they might not be ready to go up, you
Yeah,
know, and they could practice going up and down with their knee.
yeah, as long as they can go down comfortably. Sometimes they
Yeah.
might have trouble going down or coming up.
True. Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
always too recommend the chair or going to the wall. Like,
Right, yeah, the
Green
wall
might
is
be
one of
a,
the best
you know.
props.
yeah, I mean, I feel like that still is the same kind of idea as the
Yeah.
chair, but then it gives
Okay.
people the options so that then they don't feel like, oh, I'm the only one using a chair or,
Right.
you know.
But when, like there's a gal in my recent classes that's just decided she loves the chair. And I've told her, and she willingly gets a chair, even if no one else gets a chair. And then there was someone that was like, oh, I don't like the chair. And I'm like, oh, you just haven't done chair work with me. So we had everyone get a chair. And at the end of the class, she was like, I really like the chair. And I like to use the chair too to open up the back, to find safe back bends. And you can do more challenging poses, you know, shoulder stand I haven't done in these classes because it's a little trickier, but headstand with the chairs, Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward bow with the chairs, the head supported. There's just so much. And when you use the chair like in a hatha practice like that, and everyone's using it and doing a pose that was inaccessible previously, all of a sudden they love the chair.
All right, do we have, Pamela, since you have the stage, show us one of your favorite tips you brought for us today.
Okay, so what I was saying, the Urdhva Dhanurasana, I'm going to do that one. So upward bow or upward wheel. I'm going to put a blanket over the chair. And of course, you would warm up first with back bends and twists and have a block. You could have 2 blocks on the medium setting or 1 block. I'm going to use 2 blocks on the medium setting. And then you come to a seat, chair, and make sure that you have the legs a little wider so that you feel more secure and steady. And then you hold on, and you can slide a little on the seat with the blanket. But you want to bring your elbows down to the chair so that you feel you're stable. And you're still holding on and finding if the blocks are in the right spot or not. Because you want to have the head supported. I think I like the blocks that way. I'm just gonna do, this is more stable, and it's probably too high. I might have to move one, but that's okay. I'm at warm.
Almost.
And if your braid gets in the way.
There you go,
Yeah,
almost. I think you
almost.
need medium.
There we go.
Yeah.
So always have one hand on the chair when you're adjusting the block. And then one hand comes to the floor and then the other. Of course, I haven't opened my shoulders yet, but then here you are in wheel. And then if you've got some people that want to push up, they can bring their feet in closer and just push. My shoulders aren't open right now. And then one hand, other hand, elbows on the chair. And slowly come up. And then counter pose, just resting your head on your hands.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Can you ask the team to toss out another question?
Yeah, any other questions?
Did somebody bring any more prepared questions? Chrissy, you had one already. All right,
Any other questions?
Chrissy, come on up and give us your prepared tip.
All right. Do you want these props up here?
Yeah, I guess those are there.
Awesome. Hi guys at home. So yeah, for me, one that's really effective is just doing a supported bridge pose with the blocks and making sure that you invite everyone to use one block at first and kind of let them settle into that posture before they come up. So what I tell them is to walk their heels back until their calves touch their thighs, or maybe they can touch their heels. Everybody's a little different, obviously. And then making sure they use the flat side of the block and just really supporting the sacral spine. And allowing them to breathe here for a little bit before they add that second block if they want to. And like Pam was already saying, making sure that the blocks are stable. You wouldn't want them to use like this side would be not nearly as stable to really rest and relax.
And
that.
can I ask something?
Yeah.
In front of the
So
camera?
in front of the camera. So
I love it.
one block under your sacrum,
Okay.
either the medium or low is fine. But when you start to add to, don't go down
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
So come on up. So come on up, remove the block. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put her shoulders on these blankets, head is on the floor, neck is coming over the blanket. So now her neck is not gonna be crunched when she goes up higher. So put the first block under, keep your head down. And here's the other block, put it on underneath there, yeah, same setting. So now notice how your neck feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now the neck isn't scrunched up and she has that nice line and her hips are up higher than she might normally have been able to do because her shoulders are up higher. Yeah, so that's what I normally do for supported bridge getting, if people are not gonna just stick with the low block.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
Pam.
Yeah.
Can you ask the group if anybody has a question to throw at?
Anybody else have a question that came up at that time?
Or if they brought a prepared question?
Or did you bring a question?
Thank you, Chrissy. I liked the stacking of the two blocks. I usually just turn it, but I like how you stacked it and used the wide side. And then I would just add to the blanket usage. I'm curious because the way, so I never teach shoulder stand.
Yeah,
Because
this
the way,
is also, it's also a prep to go into
Yeah.
shoulder. stand. So this is the exact same folding of the blankets for shoulder stand. So then I would have
wouldn't you
have
add
people
some more
pull it up.
blankets to that though, Pamela?
one more.
Because I've learned it, you can even have up to like 3 or 4 and you
Yeah,
kind
and
of,
normally with my neck, I usually
Yeah.
use 3
okay,
because my neck feels better with 3. there another one there?
Right in front of
Oh,
you.
here it is. Okay, perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
my
if you could
shoulder
show that.
stand, I usually use 3, but some people maybe with a shorter neck or different positioning wouldn't do it. And then I would just go from here, putting one block on the low so that now your hips are in line with the blankets. And some people that are not going to go up into full shoulder stand can just be here. If you're going to go up into full shoulder stand, removing the top block. Arms close. Maybe one foot goes over or both. And then bringing the arm up. So then you can find a straight spine. So if you're ever noticing people that are like this, they need blankets under their shoulders. So that their head and their neck doesn't get scrunched. Of course. Bow to, and then slowly lowering down. You got that block there. Pause. And then pause.
I like that setup. People can stop anywhere.
Yeah,
along
there's
that.
different options along the way.
Yeah, and so no matter where you're headed, can you guys hear me from over here?
Can you hear Annette?
Okay.
I like this. Can you guys hear me now?
Mhm.
Okay. I like this style of presenting the posture with the different, like a clock. You know,
Opportunities, yeah.
because
Option
you-
1,
Because
2.
no matter where it is that you're headed, everybody in the room feels successful.
Yeah.
They've reached their point of success, no matter if you just keep going on and on with more.
Right,
So I love that way of
Right.
presenting it.
yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions that we can study?
I just have a question for Pamela. When you're teaching that shoulder stand, are you having them watch you demo it first? Because that can be kind of complicated. Okay.
Yes. Yes, and then before anyone goes up, so this is what I tend to see. No matter how many times I say head on the mat, shoulders on the blanket with an inch of blanket, neck cascading over, invariably at least 1 or 2 people will have their shoulders off the blanket or their head on the blanket. So once I get everyone there, then I'm like, okay, put your hands on your shoulders and see if you can feel the blanket. There should be, like using your fingers, about an inch of blanket above your shoulders. And then touch above there, feel your mat. Is your head on the mat or the blanket? Because even though I demo it and I'm saying that, then when they do it, sometimes it's the same people. Like, feel the blanket. Just come on up and let's do it again. Get your blankets positioned. Don't scrunch them up just yet. Lay down. Feel the shoulders and go through it all again for the 4th or 5th time.
All right.
Is there any other questions?
No?
No?
Okay, so did anybody at home bring a tip that they want to share with the group? No? All right, I have a
Okay.
question then. Maybe you can help or anybody at home can help. I think all of us are familiar with and love using the blocks to help make the poses accessible for people. But one thing that I like to learn more about is how to use the blocks to make familiar poses more strength building.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I know an easy one is, you know, if you do bridge pose with a block in between your knees, it's harder on your thigh.
Right,
It's more work.
right.
So it's strength building in a way that's not, I don't know how to describe it, but
Yeah,
Super intense.
yeah.
not intense, not
Yeah.
intimidating, not like, oh, let's just hold plank for 5 minutes. So do you guys have any suggestions for other poses that we can easily make More strength building with a block?
Yeah,
Okay.
several.
Sounds good.
So I've
Several.
used this one before. It's just, makes core work a little more fun. So using the block, and if it's a cork block, you're really gonna work harder. Putting it between your ankles, lowering down, hovering, and then building, bringing back up, lowering down. So it's just, it's light, but if you do a lot of these, you're gonna feel that it's got a little bit more weight. But also just having, longer arms, you might be able to find the strengthening poses that you wouldn't be able to without the blocks. So if you were trying to like just sit here and lift your legs up, it'd be like, well, I can sort of lift my hips up an inch, maybe, but nothing else is going to happen. Whereas if you're using the blocks, you can have your hands on it so your fingertips are coming over, straightening the arms. You can lift your hips up a little higher and then maybe take the hips back and then maybe lift the feet. Again, I'm not warmed up. But you can find those strengthening poses a little easier with some assistance too. Or more flexibility. So sometimes people will say, oh, I just don't use props. And so you can sort of say something like, for the more advanced practitioner, you'll want to have some blocks.
Mhm.
And to deepen your flexibility, some of you might be able to go with one block, holding at the feet, or maybe the other, so that you can get even more stretch. So that you can find that length. Yeah.
Any questions, anybody?
No, I have a few others I could add. They're really simple, Pamela, if you want a demo.
Sure.
Super, super simple. You guys have probably all done it, but the block between the inner thighs for plank.
Oh yeah, I love that. I was thinking of that too. Standing or seated? The
And-
Pence dispenser?
And standing too.
Yeah, I love this one.
Yeah. And then yeah,
And just
exactly.
forward fold.
And then you could use it in plank pose.
Oh yeah. So just from here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what does that do for you in plank?
Well, you're squeezing your thighs together and it's providing stability too. So your inner
Giving-
thighs are working.
Mhm. Helps connect to the
And then
pelvic
you
floor
also
more.
put it between the lower legs, between the calves. That's wider feet, but you can also just keep it here and just squeezing it just a little bit, and also in bridge, like you were saying, and
And then I like to use it in Urdhva Hastasana.
I'm sorry, in which one?
Urdhva Hastasana, or upward, when you reach your arms up, just block between the hands.
Yeah, and coming onto the balls of the feet. You could lift the toes and squeeze the block.
Yeah, and I would use the other block between your hands, between your palms.
Oh, yeah, even better. Yeah, that's a nice one.
You could also do the exact same thing with straps as well.
There.
Oh, right, around your upper arms
Yeah.
and thighs. Mhm.
Mhm.
Get into the upper arms, a little bit
I
of
haven't
strength.
tried that before.
Yeah, and then I used this one just last week, getting into the triceps and shoulders before we go deeper into that stretch of the triceps.
I like to do that stretch with an elbow under each, a block under each
Yeah.
elbow.
Or like
In
this.
puppy. Yes, yes. That's really nice.
Yeah, and then both after each one. Although I feel it more with just one block at a time.
I've actually only done it with two.
Oh, do it with
What do you do with the other arm then?
forearm,
Oh, forearm. Oh, I got
elbow, and then forehead to the mat. And then
So
imagine-
awkward.
And then hand to your shoulder,
Oh,
and then forehead to the mat. And then imagine your right armpits going towards the floor gently.
mhm.
That's always a good stretch.
I'll just stay there.
Did you have another one, Julie, you wanted me to demo?
I'm trying to think. I like to use it for forearm prep or dolphin between the,
I can't hear you.
oh, I'm sorry. For forearm stand, I'm not, dolphin pose, forearm stand prep.
Oh, I
So I would put it between, so the wide way. So actually
Okay.
between the palms of your hands.
Oh, for Pincha Mayurasana?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can go against the wall. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or even just dolphin pose, you know, if you're not
Right.
kicking up.
Like that.
I just want to ask the group, since you said the words kicking up, Julie, what are our feelings about kicking up?
Not when I'm
Um,
stuck on the mat.
I only do it against the wall, or I only teach it against the wall.
Yeah, always against the wall.
How often are we coming to the wall?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah, there's some students that always are coming to the wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, are
And
you,
last week I had, was it last week, a couple days ago, I was like, okay, we're gonna use the wall. I think there's enough wall space for everyone to use.
How many people can you get on the wall?
Oh. You know, it was for a dancer pose. So some people were just having something steady. They weren't like totally pressing against the wall. So I had a lot of people. I know we're not supposed to use the blue, but there's a couple people in the back and on the side here. I said, don't hang on the prop, shelves, but just for support, just have a hand there. It was just for extra balance.
So just in case anybody's like, what do you mean you can't use the blue? It's because the mural is coated with, it's coated with a glossy coat. So,
It's easy to clean.
right, and it's not going to get smudges, whereas the blue paint is matte.
Yeah.
And so smudgy, sweaty hands will leave
Yeah.
handprints on the walls.
Yeah.
In case you guys are curious about that.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions or comments?
Or do you want to see more prop?
Well, I kind of have a question more for the group, not like show me something cool, but is anybody curious at all about using sandbags outside of a restorative class?
I use them all the time outside restorative class.
Please show us.
yes.
Child's pose.
Mhm. I didn't even think of that. That looks like it could be really nice.
So nice in the hips. Shavasana, either over the hips or the ankles, or usually if people's legs start, are more wide, 2 sandbags.
And
But
what does it do
the-
for you to have the sandbags on your ankles?
So the sandbags on the ankles or the hips can be very calming to the central nervous system, and it'll make your Shavasana deeper. It's just so nice. And then, of course, if it's even in a yin class, some people naturally know they like the sandbags. And you can have the sandbags on your feet here, just coming forward. Or if you're in a position, even in a twist, like usually I don't use it too much in this one, but it can feel really nice. And cat pulling its tail is to have the sandbag on the top hip, just providing some stability. It's harder to position it on your own, but you just get a little more stability. Or if you're in a regular twist and you want to have a gentle opening in the shoulder that might be up a little bit. As long as it feels comfortable, just to have a little gentle weight there can feel really nice. Even just, whatever variation of a supine twist. And it just gives a little gentle opening into that upper back and shoulder.
Anybody have any questions? I have a question. Like, when somebody's got to keep it going, right? When you're in the old days, when we did Shavasana, the teacher would sometimes come down and press your
Position your
shoulders
shoulders
or
or-
press them down. It would feel really nice.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is a not too awkward way to do that to myself. So you could have
Yes.
your students do it for themselves.
With 2 sandbags.
Yeah, I guess they have these loops. So I guess you could tell them to put the sandbags behind their heads and just go like this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go. And have one on each side. And pull
oh
it
yeah, you
up.
guys, the camera couldn't see that, huh?
Yeah,
You could
do
just
other
put the
side.
bag like that, and with the little loop, they can self-drag it right onto the
Mhm.
shoulders, and then they can have that
Yeah, that
lovely
little
pressing
opening.
down feeling on both of the
Yes.
shoulders throughout the Shavasana.
Yes. And of course, one of my favorites that's usually the way I start restorative, but I'll use you, Annette, as my guinea pig. Just lay here on your back. And this you have to sort of do, it's hard for people to do themselves. This wouldn't work for non-assisted. And this gets rid of headaches
Mm,
in 15 minutes.
nice.
And then you add the eye pillow. And the legs over a bolster or a chair.
Mm.
And 15 minutes.
Meeting's over.
Just
Just kidding. Pam, I know you brought a lot of ideas to share with us, and
Yeah.
so please just go with it.
All right. So
Can I ask
another
a
one.
question about the
Sure.
sandbag? So my only concern would be that people at home probably don't have a sandbag or a bolster,
Right,
say.
right. And that's
So
why
what
I
do you do
haven't
in that
been
case?
using them a lot.
Okay. I was
And-
wondering about
and-
that.
That's one reason that I was so eager to shut off the camera in the evenings. Because then the evening teachers could go to town with all of our
Yeah.
fantastic props. During the pandemic, we have completely reduced
Mhm.
the amount of prop usage for that reason for the at-home people. I didn't even want to add a restorative to the schedule because it makes no sense.
Right.
with-
And you have to walk around in restorative to
Yeah,
help people.
in
You have
restorative,
to-
you have to help people
Yeah.
prop them up. So that's why I was so eager to shut off the camera for the
Yeah.
evening classes so that you could get a little bit more full-bodied with all of our stuff.
Yeah. I did do the chairs last week or whenever it was, and I was just telling people at home, if you don't have a folding chair like this, find a chair that's stable, as long as it doesn't have wheels on the bottom, that's approximately this size and height. But some people don't have anything like this at home, and then it might make them feel like, they're losing out. But if you can use the chair, I'm just going to show 2 more, like some of my favorite positions with the chair and a block. I won't go into headstand here, but I love it for headstand too. So, of course, I'll do, another one before I go. So if you have a wide leg fold here, it's really nice if people can't come deep enough. They could have their arms on the chair and maybe a position block for their forehead, and then they can have that benefit of the parasympathetic nervous system kicking in.
Now, Pam, what you mean by that is the pressing on the forehead, right? Could you elaborate a little
Yeah,
bit?
whenever you have the head supported in a pose, like child's pose, the forehead's on the mat or a block, or if you have the head supported in downward dog even, or puppy pose. So whenever the head is supported, you're more likely to get the parasympathetic nervous system kicking in instead of the sympathetic. And then you can reduce anxiety, reduce stress, and really get that sense of calm. So it was Marla Apt. I took a workshop with her years ago on reducing stress and anxiety. She's an Iyengar teacher. And a couple other things besides using the blocks, supporting the head at all times, even the Urdhva Dhanurasana, the back bend, as long as the head is not hanging and it's supported by the block, it can be calming. But you don't ever want to start with back bends because that can be anxiety producing. And I've been in classes before where they start with the back bend and the head's not supported. And my anxiety is just like, I have to come out of the pose. It's just not good. But another one I like, which is a really nice option, and I like it actually better than a regular lunge prayer twist. So instead of here, you would have the chair right up against the outer lower leg, depending on the length of your leg. It might be near the knee or below the knee. And you start with one hand on the top of the chair. And of course, regular lunge here. And you might need a block for your forearm to come on and hold the frame of the chair, keeping the spine long, and then come into a twist.
That looks good.
Yeah, and you really feel it in the legs. Some people might be able to go lower. But I always have them hang on, not here. Because that just reduces the stability. And then coming out, hand to the chair, and step forward. That is really intense in the outer hips. The other one that I really like, sort of a option to the twisty prasarita here, but you also get a nice side stretch. Starting here with your hands on the chair. And you keep your right hand where it is and take your left hand and reach it to the opposite frame of the chair, keeping that arm straight, bending the right arm and taking your hips back, keep the spine long, and then twist to the right. And it's a lovely stretch along the left side body into the shoulder. It's really good. The other side. And you're sort of holding onto the chair, pushing yourself back so that you're getting sort of that sense of traction.
So I kind of have, I have a little bit more of a general question for you, Pam, in
Yeah.
terms of like making your class experience smooth and not too fussy while still getting to play with a lot of props.
Yeah.
So, because sometimes I feel like, oh, like in a vinyasa class, I would love to pull those sandbags over my
Yeah.
shoulders, but I don't know if I want people to carry 16 pounds of sand just for that.
Right.
So how do you work that into your class in a way that is flowy and comfortable and non-fussy?
Okay. So it sort of depends. If I'm going to use the chair for the whole class, I'm probably not going to use a chair for vinyasa because that's, you know, like you said, it's flowy and it's sort of hard to do. But if you're just going to use the sandbags for Shavasana and you've been doing a lot of shoulder work and you know it's just going to feel so good, get the sandbags and position them towards, like, if this was their mat, you know, position them towards the back, say their head's going to be here and the other sandbags here, so that the sandbags are right where they need to be for Shavasana. And you can direct them to lay there, you know, at the end of Shavasana, and then all they have to do is do that. It's going to be worth carrying those 16 pounds or whatever it is.
All right.
And then sometimes, you know, I'll be using the chair and I'll say, okay, we might have to move some furniture around here, you know, but I'll try to plan it so that there's limited amount of moving the chair. But sometimes it's just like, this is going to be a chair class and we'll just do the chair a lot. And I haven't done it for ages because, you know, I don't want the people at home to feel left out. But one thing that's really nice is pigeon in the chair. Holding, you know, to get your foot up there. Maybe using a block. Sometimes you need a block, sometimes not. Or a bolster. I think a bolster would be better. Or you could just be up like this. Or sleeping pigeon.
I know our vinyasa yogis are reluctant to fool around with a heck of a lot of props, but I bet you they would go for that pigeon.
Yes.
The vinyasa yogis, they love pigeon pose.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you could do this in vinyasa if they were strong enough, thoughtful enough not to move too quickly. Because in the other studio, we've had the bars that I would make use of with the straps, which was sort of like the pseudo rope wall. But if you put a blanket over the back of the chair, and you wouldn't want to do this if you can't leave your mat, because everybody's different. Some people might need blocks under their hands, but you can get a nice stretch. Getting your hip flexors on there, and then hands might come onto blocks. So you're lengthening into a down dog. And then coming back up. I'm just gonna play. I wouldn't do this next thing in a class, but I think it's just fun, and it's a little more dangerous to come into this like in a class situation. But just have fun. And then, of course, I like this. If there's a lot of people and we're going to do Ardha Chandrasana and they're not real stable, I'll have them come here, and then they can maybe even find sugar cane, Ardha Chandrasana, Chapasana, and they don't have to worry about their balance because they're supported by the chair. So I use this a lot in the hatha. And they feel so much better. It's like, hey, I'm holding half moon. So many options.
Yeah.
Drops. So many options. You can even turn the chair upside down and do a back bend over it.
Does anybody have any particular questions at this point? No? Okay, I want to spend just a few minutes on prop tidiness and storage and care,
You can move
okay?
back into the center.
Okay, I'm just going to grab one thing really quick before I do.
I've been doing the blanket folding 101 to a lot of the new students.
Right, okay, so that's one tip that we want to remember is in order to keep the props tidy, teach your students to do it.
Yes.
Like they are yoga students, you're the teacher, there's no reason that you need to clean up after your people. Teach them to do it themselves, they will appreciate it, it adds to their feeling of order, it adds to their
Yes.
feeling of zen. I know you all know how to do this, but just because we're recording, I'm gonna show you how we fold the blankets. You fold it in half, all tassels down, okay? And then, whoops, all tassels down, fold it in half again, all tassels down, fold it in half again, all tassels down, one last time, and tassels to the back on the shelf. Okay? If you do a class with 2 or 3 blankets in your class,
Yeah, you don't
save,
want to put them all back.
yeah, save a few minutes to make sure you teach all your people how to put them away. Other thing that I want to point out is we have these ratty old mat pieces, okay? And that's because I don't want people putting their body weight on the chair on the floor and putting dents in our zebra floor.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do that when we were demoing, did we?
No, but
Forgot.
yeah, it's true. Well, I want to point it out now. Because
Yeah,
we
good.
forgot about it. We
Yes.
forget about it. So if you're going to have people put their entire body weight on the chair, either make them put the chair on their mat, or you can grab these scraps, is what we have them for. And these scraps can also be used for padding. If you're doing some of the things that Pamela was just showing you.
Yeah, it's even better with that instead of the blanket.
Right, because this does not
That way.
slide.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so remember that you have these scraps available. I can't come anywhere
Just do
near
the-
as graceful as
Just do the
Pam.
downward dog and see how that feels.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
So remember that you have these these mat straps to make the chair experience more cushy for yourself. One more thing. Such a big habit going around the cameras.
I know, right?
All right. We have our, our straps rolled up into these little coils. And I know you probably think this is incredibly fussy and a pain in the neck. And I will tell you that in the old studio, I finally gave up on doing this and hung the straps on the wall. And I actually have had so many people tell me they miss rolling up the straps.
They miss rolling them up.
They miss rolling them up
Oh,
because it was a way to continue your yoga class experience.
yeah.
You opened your eyes,
You just
everybody's
roll up the
packing it up,
strap.
and you're just wrapping the strap. And so many people have told me that they miss that. They
Well, I'm
miss
glad
that.
we're doing that still now.
Yeah, so in this studio, when we moved into this studio, I'm like, we don't need to hang them on the walls.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep
Plus, I
them.
would always have to get them all even anyway, because they put them up there on the wall all every which way.
It would always be really messy. Am I
Yeah.
sitting on the, you guys forgot to tell me I was sitting on the chair on the floor.
Sitting on the mat instead of the mat under the chair.
Yes, so that's why we have the straps like that. And so please also ask your students to roll them up in a little ball. And, you know, sometimes they'll ignore you and you'll have to roll some straps.
Yeah.
Hopefully
And
not too
can I
many.
show you? So some people will roll it like that and they really like that. But I'll show you the other way I like to roll it, which if someone's in a hurry, you can just wrap it around your hand. I don't know if you can see. But I'm just wrapping it around my hand. It won't get into as tight, but it's still in a nice little wrap. And they can put it in the basket like that too.
I have a question about the straps. Do you all have an opinion about whether, I often, like, if there's a loop in the strap, if we should unloop it, or can we leave the loop in?
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
Yeah, I always would have them take the loop out if we put a loop in.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, because
You
the
don't
next,
find it just easier to
is it
leave the loop
want
in
that.
for the next person?
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, and they don't roll well with the
no.
loop.
No. And if
Okay,
we're
so you wanna
starting
take it out.
class and we're gonna use a loop, I'll just tell them, you know, while they're waiting, go ahead and put a loop in the strap, a certain size that we're gonna use.
Okay.
And then it's ready for when we're gonna use it.
Okay, good to know. I also am wondering, are you still all the blocks and cleaning of the blocks? What is everybody doing?
People are
regards to that.
cleaning them before using them if they want, but cleaning them after. Actually, they should be doing before and after using the blocks and the mat, right?
Mhm.
And I noticed there's some paper towels there now, so that might be a little more, people might be a little more
Yeah,
willing to
because
do
some
it.
People don't have a rag, or they forgot it, or they're just coming in one time and they haven't gotten a rag yet and they didn't know to bring one.
Mhm.
Okay, so we should still be telling everybody, when you're done, clean your blocks.
Yes, people should clean the borrowed blocks.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the reason that we say that they also have to clean them before use,
Then they know they're clean.
then they know they're clean to their own standards. And just because you tell somebody clean the blocks when you're done, you know, not everybody have the same idea of what clean means. And
Right.
and to them, it might just mean like, and put it back
Right.
on the shelf, right? So, you know, clean the blocks after use because of ahimsa, right? To care for your community. And then clean the blocks before use because of saucha,
Mhm.
right? For your own cleanliness.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good way of saying it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I do encourage you guys to, if there's somebody that shows up that doesn't have a rag and the door hasn't been shut yet, get your studio attendant to toss them a rag
Good.
and teach them, this is the freebie, please take it home, wash it and bring it back for next time. Because we don't want our students to get in the habit of wasting paper towels
Right.
to clean the blocks. You know, we're gonna take them right back to ahimsa and not harming the planet.
Mhm.
And, you know, you guys are their teachers. They want to hear what you have to say. Don't feel like you're being bossy or like everybody's mom or being too detailed about do this and do that. They want you to do that so that they can turn off their brain.
Yeah.
And they can just do what they're told. They don't want to be like a little bit confused or uncomfortable about what to do with the block or the blanket or, so, you know, I know that I sometimes feel reluctant to give over instruction because that's kind of like not what a hostess does. A hostess is a lot more welcoming, right? Do whatever you want. I want you to be comfortable. I'm not going to tell you this or that. But I have to take that hostess brain off when I'm the teacher and bring in the teacher brain.
Mhm.
That's what makes people feel comfortable, like you're in control.
Right.
You got them, right? You got them. Anything else, anybody? No? Okay, well, thank you for participating in that. And I'm gonna save this recording, add it to the teacher training library. And if you ever have any questions, you know you have a big team on your side and you can throw it on Slack. We have that instructor Slack channel specifically so you guys can be like, hey, I got a problem. I cannot figure out how to do a lunge pose with a double hip replacement. Help me out here, people. So let's see if we can take advantage of that resource in that way on the go forward. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great, what's
Thank
today,
you.
Wednesday? Rest of your week.